Thank you for tuning into another video from JRM Recaps. Spoilers ahead. The film opens as we see a newborn being brought into the world in West Philadelphia. This is Elijah Cost. Elijah is fragile to such an extent that he is delivered with broken legs and arms. As he becomes older, he is provoked at school and called Mr. Glass by the other students since he is so delicate. As an adult, he runs a thriving expensive comic book art gallery specializing in unique drawings of superheroes. David Dunn is a safety officer at the regional university arena. His marriage is disintegrating and truth be told, his significant other, Audrey Dunn, sleeps downstairs in their child's room, and David sleeps on the second floor with his son. Returning home from a job interview in New York, David's train breaks down and crashes, killing everybody on board with the exception of David. There isn't even a scratch on him. After the memorial service for the accident casualties, David sees a note placed on his windshield. It's from a store named Limited Edition, Elijah's store, and the note inquires, "How many days of your life have you been sick?" David asks his wife and his boss, however nobody can at any point recall him being under the weather. David goes with his son to Limited Edition where he meets Elijah. Elijah describes his hypothesis to David. On the off chance that Elijah can be brought into the world with fragile bones and easily injured, shouldn't there be somebody with the very opposite conditions? Elijah has explored every accident to track down a sole survivor but has been unable to do so. After years of looking, he at last has found one in David Dunn. David believes it's intriguing, however simply thinks Elijah is crazy. Back at the arena, David gets a call that there is somebody there attempting to sneak in and requesting David specifically. It's Elijah, and he begins explaining his comic book theories to David. Speculations about regular men being superheroes, having abilities they haven't yet understood, and so on. David bumps a person in line and tells the security toward the back to begin searching individuals. They watch as the person David knocked into sees everybody being searched and exits the line. Elijah asks David what happened there, and David lets him know that when he knocked into him, he had an image of a particular sort of handgun. David returns to work, but Elijah follows the person David knocked into. They go down a long stairway. Elijah falls, breaking his leg and a few other bones, but the last thing he sees is the man's handgun, exactly as David depicted it. Elijah was correct. David has some sort of unique ability. Back at home, David is exercising in the basement with a set of weights. His child thinks all that Elijah said about David being a hero with an extraordinary gift is true, but David does not. David requests that his son reduce some weight, but without him knowing, he puts more weight on. David lifts 250 pounds, the most he's ever lifted. His son keeps putting on more weight until David is currently up to 350 pounds. He has had this strength the whole time but was completely unaware. Elijah needs his leg rehabbed, and his medical attendant is Audrey, David's significant other. Elijah poses her inquiries about her and David, and she tells him when they were going out, David was a star football player yet got in a motor vehicle accident because of ice-covered streets. David never played football another single time. It was a direct result of that she and David were married. Had he kept on playing, she realizes they would have become separated. Back working, David gets a call from his child's school that his son has been harmed. His child thought that maybe a portion of David's superhuman abilities had come off on him. He attempted to safeguard somebody that was being bullied and instead was injured himself. The school nurse recollects David from when he was at that school. As a matter of fact, it was a result of David that they have firm rules regarding the pool. It appears that David had been bullied himself while close to the pool when he was a student there. He fell in and was left in the pool to drown. He was found at the bottom of the pool, however some way or another managed to live. David recounts this story to Elijah, that as a matter of fact, David can get injured. Elijah lets him know that each superhuman has a shortcoming. David's kryptonite is water. The water from the pool and the water from the ice-covered streets. David's wife concludes that him surviving the train crash is an indication that perhaps they ought to give their marriage another attempt. They go out on a date, and he clears up for her that he felt their marriage was over when he stopped waking her up after he had a terrible dream. The following evening, David breaks into the train station and analyzes a portion of the destroyed trains. He begins reviewing his own car accident from years earlier and recollects that he wasn't harmed in any way. As a matter of fact, he needed to utilize his superhuman strength to save Audrey from the blazing car. He goes to Elijah and lets him know he is correct. He has never been harmed or under the weather in any capacity. Elijah lets him know that it's no accident that David is in the security field. He wants to go to where individuals are and safeguard them. It's a rain-filled day and David, wearing a hooded raincoat, heads to Penn Station. Many individuals are passing by. Whenever somebody walks into David and bumps him, he has an image of that individual setting out to do something evil. One is a jewel thief, another a rapist. However, when the janitor knocks into him, David gets a terrible image. The image is of the man going into somebody's home and killing the owner of the house. David, still wearing the raincoat making it seem as though it is a superhero's cape, follows the person as he leaves work for the day. The person goes to a nice house in a good area. David sneaks into the back of the house and tracks down the dead owner inside. He goes to the second floor and saves two sisters bound in their washroom. He goes into another room and finds the mother also bound. The window is open, and David peeks out. At the point when he turns back around, the janitor is there and proceeds to push David through the open window. David lands on the pool in the backyard that has its wintertime cover on. Unexpectedly, the cover begins imploding with David's weight and he gets entangled and submerges with the cover. He is drowning again, yet the two sisters force a pole down to him which David grabs onto and is saved. David heads back to the second floor and grapples with the guy until he is able to kill him by breaking his neck. The following scene is David back at home, hanging up his cape, or should we say, raincoat, and carrying his sleeping spouse upstairs to their bed. She awakens and asks him what's going on. "I had a terrible dream," he says. While eating breakfast in the morning, David slides the paper over to his son and holds a finger to his mouth for him to stay quiet. The title recounts a secret hero that saved the two young ladies. The picture is a drawing of what the young ladies saw. It shows a superhero-like figure with a hood and cape. The kid gazes toward his father and David simply grins and nods his head. David goes to Elijah's gallery where Elijah is having a large gathering for an extraordinary show. He and David go to Elijah's office in the back so they can talk about what had occurred. Elijah has been in a wheelchair since his fall. He is truly proud of David and they shake each other's hand. Suddenly, very much like Christopher Walken and Stephen King's The Dead Zone, while shaking hands, David has an image of Elijah setting a structure ablaze, another image of Elijah causing a plane accident, and lastly a dream of Elijah leaving the driving compartment of David's train that crashed. David checks out Elijah's office and is shocked at what he sees. Clippings of paper showing hundreds of catastrophes from around the globe. Elijah is the puppet master behind all these events and has organized them for his own benefit. Very much like in the comics, each evil villain needs a commendable foe, and Elijah has at long last found his. David steps back with sickening apprehension as Elijah, who in his wheelchair currently seems more like Professor X of the X-Men, broadcasts, "They call me Mr. Glass." Not long before the last credits, a message shows up on the screen that informs us that David contacted the police and Elijah is currently in a criminal institution for the mentally deranged. Thank you for watching our recap. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe for future videos. Also, try some of our other videos displayed on screen.